Get the Pain Bible, by the way. That's Chris's book.
He has multiple books.
Great information in there.
Well, and then timing matters because you got to remember, what is pain? Pain is represented in your mind, just like your body right now as we stand. There's a representation in your brain that you can touch with electrical probing, and it literally is a homunculus, right? So now think about, there's a somatosensory.
Pull up a picture of a homunculus.
I'm like, how do I?
You're gonna laugh at this.
It's yeah.
How do you spell
so,
that?
but here's the thing, that the one we know of is a motor cortex. It's the one that sits right there on the frontal occipital or frontal parietal junction.
Yeah.
But the
I mean, this is just when I searched it, so I'm like, what the fuck is that?
And look at the hand, how big it is.
Yeah.
So look at the one where it's that top left. Yep.
Oh, this guy.
That one. So that's the brain and how the homunculus represents the brain. So look at the size of the area of the brain that's dedicated to your hand. Those are neurons, like billions of neurons, right?
Wow.
That are dedicated to just your hand, right? Just this one area of your body. Now think about your hand's contact with the ground yesterday, and think of those neurologic representation in your brain, right? And now think about how when your hand's now fully active and engaged and grounded and connected to the floor, now what's happening in your brain compared to whenever I'm like compensating and the wrist pain and this thing's going on.
Yeah, and if you're trying to tell me about like, oh, you should be able to feel your shoulder. Like sometimes you do like, I don't know how much yoga you've done, but they say stuff in yoga and they talk real nice and real kind, and I'm just like, my wrist just feels like it's going to break in this position. Like I can't really think of some of the stuff they're talking about because my focus, my brain, the space in my brain is being consumed and overridden by this maybe particular pain or sensation that I have. Kind of just like the Outwitting the Devil book that was suggested to us by Bedros Keuilian, where poverty and fear are the kind of main things that can occupy your brain. And you think about if we lump some pain in there too, then we get into situations again where I was mentioning to you yesterday, you might be, if I said, hey, why don't you jump up onto that box and then jump down from that and jump on the other one? You might be like, what? Even though you heard me, you just might want a little bit of a moment to like think about it, and maybe you come up with your own version of it. But if you were like a 14-year-old kid that skateboards and shit like that, you'd be like, sure, cool, pop, and you do it.
I'll just do that right now.
Yeah.
No second thought.
Yeah, well, that's what I appreciate about you, is that you kind of have that attitude with the people we all work with, and I like it too because I can see it helps Mark kind of have the moment to understand and get comfortable with it, because you just jump in and then he can kind of get in there and makes him a little more comfortable. So it's a good team. It's a way y'all's team functions that I could see, that I don't know if y'all appreciate that well, but you're right.
These guys go through it first, and then
Andrew didn't die. All right, I'll give it a shot.
And y'all, but in same token, yesterday y'all kind of switched spots. You kind of, and then today I got to talk and work with you a little bit. So it was great. And from my perspective, learning from people and listening to what they say, like, you're such a good active listener, both you guys, all of you are really. And that's something me and Batchy had a lot to say about. Everybody we connected with was really actively engaged in the conversations we were having. It wasn't just rushing to try to share their thoughts. And I know y'all probably are used to people coming in my seat and being really eager to share their thoughts, their ideas, their programs, and where I come in, I guess, in terms of adding value and looking at all the great things that you guys get into, is looking at, okay, look, actually, there's way more in common between these systems and these perceived competitors. No, man, we're all out here to help people, and the more we kind of lean into that connection, the more the businesses themselves flourish, and the more the systems can do, and the more populations they can reach. Because now, instead of me having to prove you wrong to help you, and versus like, well, like that mentality you're talking about earlier, where in a sense, I have to be right and you have to be wrong for me to help you. And that's a bad place to be. That's not a very good paradigm for a high level of success. I need you need to be right and I need to be right, and we need to work on this thing together. There is no right
unless
or
we're
wrong.
Totally wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure. Sure.
You can get to, you know what I mean?
But that's a
I get what
bigger
you're saying.
problem, you know? And I feel like sometimes we can investigate those problems through our movement and through this exchange of like trying different positions. Well, this is a little stale. Let's try a different position, right? And remembering that our sensation and that experience, if we're feeling moments of frustration, and I could tell in the very beginning that we had a little breakthrough because there was a moment where I could tell that there was a bit of frustration. You're tired. You just did a podcast. You know, you have a full day already. You already ran God knows how many miles. Your hip was hurting you. You were having to go into a place of focus where most people don't have that capacity, where that cortisol build up or whatever it is that the day does to us. Now they can justify being impatient.
Breakthrough feels so good
It
because you
does.
kind of get like kind of hot and agitated, like
Yes.
literally get like physically kind of
Sure.
sweaty, and you're kind of halfway agitated. You know,
Yes.
you're kind of pissed, but you're like, I think I can still do better with this.
And then you took
You relax
a
into
a 2-minute walk. You got a sip of water. You came back with a fresh perspective, and I could see the energy in your body change. And that was so powerful for me to see because everything I needed to hear is to learn about you. Nothing about what you said or anything you proved in that moment that you are willing to confront something and you're here. And almost that sensation, instead of making it you avoid it and say, oh, it's not good for me. I got better things to do. It's like, no, that's the stuff I'm going to chase and get really interested in and get real excited about. And now when I get scared, those are the things that, okay, this is actually an opportunity. Every single time you confront a fear, it's a chance for you to grow, but it feels really daunting, right? But there's also a part of you that has to lean on your experience and say, oh, this is that thing that I do. And every time I do it, I come out the other side transcended a little bit, right? A little more enlightened, maybe a little, I've shaken off whatever it is, that pressure I was putting on myself. And usually it's the pressure of the eyeballs and the perception that I am who you think that I am, right? And
you have to know yourself too, and tell the coach or instructor or whoever you're working with, hey, you know what, I think I had enough.
That's right.
And if that coach is like, no, man, we got, then maybe you found the wrong, maybe it's the wrong person.
And also if the coach is in a state of where, okay, well, instead of let's just throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, let's just take it down a notch. Let's move it to a different position because we still need to get the work in, right? I'm still like, we're still here and we still need to utilize this
How
time.
about we bump the intensity back, or would you be okay if we move on to another exercise? Person's probably like, yeah, sure.
Thank you. And the flexibility to do that is really the key. And the adaptability, human to human to human, me working with you or Andrew, the same clinical approach that I had to use with really high-level chronic pain patients and building rapport with people that are like, they're isolated, they've been thrown around and used by the system, right? So you have a chronic pain patient that's already had maybe 2 or 3 back surgeries, and then now the neurosurgeon's just tired of dealing with it, and they send them to pain management, and the pain management is just filling them full of drugs, and then they still have a GP, and they might even have a motor vehicle accident tied in with an attorney and a chiropractor, and these are
a lot of stresses around that.
So I'll sit in front of a person that's just dying, but I realize that 80% of the things are things in their life and there are people that are associated with them that are throwing labels at them that benefit them and their priorities, not the patient.
Probably helps you a lot that you probably are confident in the fact that you probably know in your heart that you can at least help the person make some progress.
Right.
Maybe you can't fix it because maybe like there's just something like we don't know everything, but
we need 1%.
You can probably, I would imagine you probably have 100% success rate when it comes to helping people get some sort of progress.
If they show up, because we can only change so much.
This clip is brought to you by Piedmontese Beef, the best beef on the planet. Use code POWER for 25% off your entire order. Enjoy the clip and enjoy your meat.
Just like what we did yesterday, I'm like, if we really have a really good, if I feel like we're understanding those ground forces and reacting in the pushing to push to reach idea to separate, right? So that's a concept, right? But there's a lot of different ways you can go about that for each person to feel it effectively. You could have the best session of your life and create motion and get all this range that you literally have never had, but only if you keep 30% of that, tomorrow, that's impressive. But I would say even if you kept 10, but now I have to go back to that well and I have to keep getting water from it and I have to keep experiencing it, you by yourself in your space. And all of a sudden it becomes this thing that, oh, you're like, oh, I can do this on the wall. Like, oh, I can do this on a bench. I can do it in so many different ways and give myself a totally different experience. And that day-to-day routine discipline, this playful activation of just say, oh, let me use my arms and hands as weight bearing, as like legs. I'm gonna treat them like legs, and then teach my shoulder girdles to be like hips that seat into the body and the rib cage. That concept itself, and you just playing 15 minutes can solve way more for you than any system I can deliver you. But how can I make you believe that it's important? Is I have to show you and allow you to have that experience in a way that was fun, that you felt better when you started, even if it was just you felt like you can breathe deeper, right? Breathing deeper makes you feel better. You get more oxygen. You create more good hormones. And so if we can prioritize the expansion of the thorax, the way that our shoulder girdle influences that, you optimize the function of the rest of the body. And in martial arts, everything's about balance, right? Mm-hmm. So I want everything to be, everybody's orthodox or southpaw. Well, for me, from the movement perspective, coming in to working with fighters, well, the outcome we're seeking is from a scientific perspective, look at what's happening, what's working, what's not. Well, this means I'm predictable, because that means that every time I see people get knocked out or counterstruck, which I don't want my fighters getting hit. That's my first priority. I don't like them having cuts and bruises and being hurt. That sucks. It hurts me. So I want to help understand that me being predictable and standing here with this chambered right hand ready to throw it, that's every time you see a fighter get knocked out, it's off their right hand. Mm-hmm. So the idea is, or even if a wrestler's grabbing this front leg, we'll just pull it out. Well, why don't they pull it out? That's the simplest thing. And I got distance because they're not comfortable switching stances. So the idea is there's more optimal ways of moving within a fight, but it's contradictory to the boxing dogma or the Muay Thai dogma or the Jiu-Jitsu dogma. And we got to realize that what did Bruce Lee say? Be water. It's a blending it's martial arts is an experience. If you practice martial arts, it's for you and me. It's an individual experience, and what it can be is limitless when it's you against you versus you against somebody else.
Power Project family, we appreciate you checking out this clip. Check out another one. Just go check out another one. Or comment down below and let us know what you liked about this one. But we love you guys, and we're going to keep bringing you the heat. So comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, okay? Peace.